Okay, Pacho Bon Semano na Onontiano MIA. Pacho.
Vice Chairman.
Good evening, Your Excellency Samira. Yamin Shram. A year Odofupa. Nasa Nina ye digitalization. And also Moja. Nasa Moja Nepoti Wakana. Say industry be here. It's a Samoja. I have the Moja na make the cost of data. The cost of data. And the me person be bisan say and dear ben na mubetimi aye because they say the content na a good streaming platform say go online na say data no go yet the economic benefit I see you ntini the best say we nya go bibi buy kina e ma bi bisa say e dear na say what share your boss say obey your PR office dey mi mo ba mi na mi vitamin for my body pa intimate super say data no ne born na ma for ma this may make personal commitment to the industry say I will chase you wherever you go to make sure that we drive down the cost of data. Thank you very much.
What the works go a risk until no account me and o kasano can paid content and in say kuru on one. If say before say app be cost no ebe call no e wo say empanimfo no hwem say ye beboa ana say moa ansana o ma September app no abakrumo and in say TikTok and TikTok ne o country bra mutua o people the content to so a o see tua oka baga na ha say why life amobi actual coins ansana when yeska. And we have more than 10,000 people creating content to go TikTok. And if say 10,000 people we say every month they are say app need to car and go uncle Heduma, Uncle Papa and Macron because we can hear Juma Dada. A dear I'm by home because countries go Mutia and Ghana there and but want to mean to know in Chia Yaka Abra, then you provide your own content. And coming to filming. Kubu on one. Tell you okay, someone DJ movie. We are moving now. If say is talking about good things about the country, you do moving on. Now of course we are no chairman. Says I go for bra. If it's only talking about good things about the country, so we producers no. You need problem because you say you go form the tone you mama. And you basic cinemas. You be the many in every ni na me na me sa ko ton ma de me na me sa ko ha stress the baby breed die nwie no e bia me twi san ko yi mu bi ni biem eno so dia ba ya fa ho se be boka ya wi e kwan be on be bua me ama me so betumi asel me movies me na masi.
Good evening, Her Excellency. Pacho, you said so much about your vision for us. Because it was so beautiful, but convincingly, because we are in the industry, most of the things you spoke about was mainly, about, the governance of the country. But we are actresses, actors in the movie industry. Convincingly, please, what can you tell us that when your husband comes on power, he will do to support the industry? Because the industry is what we live for. You know him more than Yenya Yawa Bontin. Mepacho industry, when you people come, you tell us, you buy a bayway, you buy a bayway, you buy a bayway. But so especially with the theater that you wanted to build for us. Yes, convincingly, we'll say young Hodi will accountable if these promises are not fulfilled. Convince us so that when your husband comes,
as I said, this is a conversation. Me pese metie, me de masem atuya. Me pese metie moso, ye damu akoma so. Na yamenya nchade say FIPAG power betumi ejinemu edi aboa. So that is the first point we are going to make. It's me damu as I said, moso mode monsem tuja mone mi di honkomo. And cost of data is an issue, and government is working towards reducing cost of data. Mekaya and Chebiampo, there was an issue of Starlink licensure. So Montumenton Ewaha, and I remember that it was driven by His Excellency Dr. Bawumia to make sure that Starlink Bebabe joining Ghana in data provision, because we know a lot of these businesses, they are market driven. If we have somebody who's providing good service, now rates the conformer, almost they will be forced to drive their prices down. That is one that I can tell you at the top of my head. But I know, say, Dr. Bawumia is committed to, because a lot of what he does, as you said, is digitalization, and we need to be able to make the internet affordable, being online affordable, so that all these other services that we are providing via that, will work. So that I can assure you that he's committed to seeing that the prices of data goes down. And I'm not sure about why TikTok content is not paid for, but it's something that I would also look into. Memo Maswati, I don't know what the conversation is around that, but that's an important point. And Portia, but if you look at the data, the industry is growing. In Ru, baby, I say Drew, but it is growing. It is not stagnating, and we haven't retrogressed. And that's why I started by saying that sometimes it feels like national issues that we are addressing, but it feeds into the industry, because by addressing those issues, the industry also grows. We are committed, and we've demonstrated over the years that we can grow this industry because we have grown the industry. What is important is, as I said, some of the tax incentives that we'll give into Nipa or producing moving on. If the cost of production is lower, obituary will come more as an actor. So those are some of the direct incentives, but we have to provide an ecosystem where the industry thrives. And that is why all of what we are discussing sounds like a national issue, but it is the ecosystem that we need to build, that the industry will thrive. But the amphitheater, as I said, I've spoken to Mr. Akwesi Ajiman, GTA. I spoke to him even before I came here to make sure that the commitment that we're making is true. And he assured me, said, December, by end of the year, Kumasi Amphitheater will be ready, and we are earnestly working on the Accra one as well. So we are committed. But I think the most important point even is this interaction that we're having. Because as I said, if you want, so I've come to you to hear you. And if I wasn't committed to supporting her, I wouldn't be here today. I thank you for being here, but my being here also is the commitment that I'm demonstrating to you, say, more industry no more here, and I'm going to do whatever I can to help support you.
Thank you very much. Now, representing for media, TV.
In as much as we want to have these conversations, let's be very time conscious, because we were told we were going to start at 3, we started almost at 5. It doesn't work well for us with regards to discipline. All right. Now, straight to my question. One of them you have actually answered, that has to do with the amphitheater, because way back in May, the deputy minister actually told us that the project was going to be done in 3 months. Down the line, the minister, that's Ejepa Mensah, told us that it was going to be done, but then by December, like he said. In September, the deputy minister told us that funds were depleted. He told us that the World Bank had actually granted $500,000 for each project. Unfortunately, it was not enough and that the minister was going to go to Parliament to seek for additional funding. I don't know if that funding has been provided, reason why we are being told that it will be done by December. So it makes me wonder, with all these promises, I think in 3 months it will be done. Funds are not available. We are going to Parliament, and now we are being promised that yes, December it will be done. How certain are we that yes, it will be done in December? Again, with the Creative Arts School, you know, when we talk about the industry and all that, yes, we appreciate all that's happening in Accra. But in Kumasi, for instance, this is one of the things that would have actually helped. Education. Since we really want to build this industry, knowledge is very important. The Creative Arts School, as we talk, I passed by not too long ago, and it's been abandoned, like there's nobody there. So what's happening to the Creative Arts School? Are we going to continue it, or we're just going to let it rot? Thank you very much.
I work at Kismet TV, and mine has to do with we've been here for some time now, and most of the things that you highlighted in your presentation has to do with tourism. And looking at the creative arts industry, our part, most of the people here put together beautiful events and things that needs venues for such events to take place. But if you look at Ashanti region, every event organizer coming to this side will say that Nakumasi Okoye event anyway. If you want to put together an event for 5,000 people, we don't have it. Also, so most event promoters are not excited coming to Kumasi for major events. Hence, most of the events are left in Accra. Looking at December in Ghana, all the major highlights are in Accra. None thinks about Kumasi as the second home because we don't even have the centers for such events to take place. So I am asking that what would be that thing that the would-be government of Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia has for this region with respect to infrastructure development, not just the initiatives or that kind of thing, but things that we can look to and say that this is an event ground that we can have our events and we have a certain right. Now, to add to what I want to ask about, now we were promised of a film village. We were promised of a cultural village. We were promised of an edifice befitting an international conference center, which the soft cutting was done at the Golden Bee Hotel. Up until now, after 3 years, we haven't seen those things coming to reality. We appreciate the fact you having us here, gathered in this auditorium for this wonderful gathering. But we appreciate the fact that we are being told the truth about how we want to face boldly with how the future for this creative industry is going to be, not just promises in papers that wouldn't see the day of light. Thank you.
Yeah, we are representing them. I'm talking about those who come to premiering, those who go online and search and everything. If they are in a good place, they can really help. I would like to find out, since you are representing your husband, the vice president, $58 million was spent on the cathedral. We never saw it. It was just a hole, big hole. And I think 5% of it would have solved a lot of infrastructure problems that we have in the creative space. Talking about the film village, the theater now, that they are going to get another funds to solve and all that. What is your husband, the vice president, going to do about corruption? Most of these funds could have been allocated to the creative space, which would have helped. All these conversations we are having about the film village and all these infrastructures that we are talking about, it's $58 million now. You need to Amana National Cathedral. How are they going to do? I'm just saying that this to say that the governance, no, corruption or misappropriation of funds, saying no bisifa ahead of farmer.
That represents.
We'll keep our fingers crossed, and I'm sure they would meet their word. And then an event venue in Kumasi, you're right. Even in Accra, it's a challenge, and that's why we're also encouraging private sector partnerships. If there is a real need, which I believe there is, for a big enough venue, that is an investment opportunity. So that is why we're saying we're going to provide tax incentives. So if you go and get a partner out there, so everybody in this room, this is an opportunity for you. Find somebody who can help construct a big enough center here. Here, where we are right now is a private place. So private sector also does things that supports the industry. But if you can find someone to partner with, government will provide tax incentives and other incentives, including flat taxes, which I spoke about earlier. And so we can also look at what governments will do in future. But for this industry, it's important that government supports other private sector efforts. So it's a good observation. And hopefully the amphitheater will be the starting point in the future if things permit. I'm sure government itself would want to build, but in the meantime, private sector partnership will be great, especially given that government will incentivize them to do it. About the cultural village, film village, I cannot answer why it's not done. So I will look into it for you. Right? And about the cathedral and corruption, as I said, this conversation is about the future. Is about the government led by Dr. Bawumia and what he will do for this sector. And as you know, a lot of the digital platforms that have been put in place, your question is more on how do we minimize corruption, how do we minimize misapplication of funds. And all of these digital platforms are doing just that. And that is why Bawumia is one who has championed digital platforms. If you have payment systems that go a certain route, you know that you cannot cut corners. The way he's proposing that our taxes are even collected. Today, we have Ghana.gov where almost all our payments go into. So Bawumia as an individual himself is committed to good governance. He himself is a very honest and astute man. So I believe his leadership will also bring that to bear. So you can be sure that a government led by Dr. Bawumia will do everything in its power to curb corruption and misapplication of funds. But when we talk about corruption, we only talk about government. It is an ecosystem that also encourages and partakes in it. So as citizens, we should also commit. Because even some of these platforms, people are sitting there and thinking, how do we circumvent the platform? So we should all be upright and demand of our leaders what we ourselves are ready to do. But I can assure you that Dr. Bawumia is an honest man. He's incorruptible. In the last 8 years he's been in government, there hasn't been a single credible allegation of corruption leveled against him. And that demonstrates to me that as president, he'll be astute.
It was never promised by government to conference hall. No pray with me. A KME and a normal person will see conference hall. Kumasi. Normally, a more Chinese partners. And we invited the then minister, a young honorable Barbara Tintesi, to come and grace the occasion. So it wasn't a government project, but it was a metropolitan project. But most of the time, it means separately assembly from the central government projects. And on the issue of Film Village, there is no statement anywhere say government say or the Film Village. Now, conversation it was Idris Elba. And now yes, say or yes our project in our Ghana because he's a Ghanaian. After shooting Beast of No Nations, who said there are certain movies that are shot in South Africa. Africa has the same environment. So if we have these infrastructures in place, Obetime using a personal influence, I'm a Ghana, now when you benefit. So he visited Ochehene, and now what he proposed, I said, Kobenya Sasia, Kopeso, yes, our project. There was somebody who was closer to government over there. And one more year said, I buy it now, Emma, private person, a tall land, you know. Now, or yeah, it means the state cannot benefit. It can't benefit the film industry. In the Senate here, you will talk to government. Now, government, and how to participate. The government decided, said, Senate here will be provided the land so that it will be the state's equity in that project for the whole industry to benefit. That is the situation. And because we didn't understand it, now he has built the project, but he took it to Tanzania because the investors didn't like the noise that came around the project. You know. So it wasn't a government project. But government wanted to take advantage of what Idris wanted to do. You can take it from anywhere.
Thank you for bringing clarity on that. Now let's move to the musician. No, I'll do that. But you remember how to do. Maybe say me yesterday will be a better department they are very representing. Now to Asaka, Rabank. Customer Kumasi na Mudiati, Mudiambakado.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. You're very Rabank, Asaka. I don't know if this is a question, but say second lady can say you didn't community. I feel like a bit very cool. Now I feel like we haven't utilized our creative space enough as there hasn't been a single movie appreciate about corruption or all these things. Like first thing always now when you watch American movies, you can watch a movie and you see from beginning to end they are fighting over the American flag. So now people in America have this sense of like pride because like people are portraying their country in this manner. So what I'm asking is like, what are we going to do to honor people who put their lives down to like put smiles on people's faces? Because like governments at the end, but at the end they are trying to keep a smile on people's faces while the food is getting ready. So like how are we going to be honored? We are not getting paid enough, and I mean I think that as a creative, it's something you grow to accept. Say you might not be getting much money, but at least if there's honor in what you're doing, and like couldn't say when yes, maybe I go like you can create an opportunity for your kid or whoever is associated to the name. What are we doing to like honor people who put their lives down, like stress, thinking of ways to put smiles. I remember when COVID came and everybody was inside. It took Asaka and Kumawood to put smiles on everybody's faces, but we weren't, on it, or we didn't feel any kind of support from any institution or any government or any like national institution. I bet motivating but we keep doing it regardless. But what I'm saying or what I'm asking is, what are y'all want to do to like make sure that we that put our lives, to put smiles on people's faces, at least we feel some kind of, like reward.
Right, and we wrap it up with, our best rapper, Ghana's best rapper, right? So.
The current best rapper in Ghana. Amen. Yeah. To buttress what my brother Rabank was saying, I think Kobirana had, the movie director, Kobirana had a movie that portrayed the governance and everything that was done, and then he was blocked from premiering it in the country. So there's a lot of those things that's happening that have those blockages. I would like to represent more from the music side. I am fortunate to have an artist who we have a lot of clout where we are able to finance most of the things that we do, even though he's an independent artist. But when you come to Kumasi, where it's literally the hub of entertainment and talent in the country, we barely have anything that is encouraging to the young ones that are coming. we are fortunate, some of us are able to have studios or access to all these things that are happening, but we don't have any incentive that is incentivizing the up-and-coming artists. So it's very difficult for any artist who's coming up to have all those things. And then we go back to investor confidence. Most of the people we want to work with are now lost in the confidence because they can't even invest in the equipment that we use. For an artist, we shoot videos. We have all these things. And then when you want to work with photographers, when you want to work with video directors and all that, they have problems importing stuff, their equipment from the country. So it's very difficult for you to have that top-notch quality that you want. But when you have meetings with these big TV stations like the BETs and all that, they have certain quality that they look up to before they can air your music videos and all that. And it's very difficult for us to have those kind of equipment that has that quality for us to be aired out of the country. Most of the time, people think language is the barrier, but quality is actually the barrier because people are singing in their languages and having all these platforms air them for them. But we barely see that from here because most of the people who have the funds to do that are having problems with the taxes that comes with importing all those stuffs. So it's really become a very big problem for us in here. And then the last thing I would want to speak about is it's very pitiful for you to be in this industry because when anybody of a notable name comes from the Western world into Ghana, it's really difficult for you to see them in Ghana here, in Kumasi. They all stop in Accra, make a turn in Accra and then go back. So the Idris Elbas and then whoever, it was really difficult for us to even see them. Thanks to the Asaka regime and the American regime where we saw Stormzy and all those people in here. But it's really difficult for us to have people come here. We see them in Accra and we see them on TV and then that is all. But when we talk about entertainment, and whether with movies and then in music and everything, Kumasi is really the heart of it. It's like we are just begging for the peanuts while the real things are happening in Accra when nothing is being happened. Thank you very much.
Film village may be oversigned to be on my because you will be on my proposal about being so and the late December, Madaroma. There's also Tosubio. Okasano, Okanema Bebre. In fact, my statistics, economy, 3.6, a rising cost 7, a lot of data. But so sharp, there was nothing on the creative arts. No data on the creative arts. Our TV car said, creative arts, ABR GDP say, your movie, your producers say, your artists say, wages say, and based on anything, a bit of university say, oh, and the creative arts, economically in Ghana, they need any input in the development or the economic growth of the country. That is why I don't have any data on us. The message, Simbama, any data on the creative arts. Metier, meaning send Nigeria, and making 3% into their GDP in the creative arts. Meaning South Africa, 3% film. That was South Africa. 3%. In America, almost 1.3 in their GDP. What's in Ghana? The Sansu Tosudio. Macho, honorable, Yeni Broadcasting Act. Every TV station, a foreign content, normally less for the local content. What we call the guideline to the TV station. But unfortunately, in that guideline, 70% should go to the local content, but they don't use it because they are binded by law. Over 25 years, no broadcasting act. It's a message. Let's answer to you. Who say tax by your free zones? Yeah, can say bringing equipment into the country is very high, expensive. What is free zones doing for us? Say your free zones, if they say more than near me bar, free zones better tax maybe if you amount. It's a more at a lower rate. Maslock na juma ne say obebo e besia de twesi because Maslock air for state. If Maslock ebo besia for other people emo ye juma, that means Maslock na eya apan ya ne je omo bi say obenya returns. Na say Ghana no and the younger say creative cities ebo e besia e betimetia. And it's a Maslock eti ebo besia. Maslock mbo e besia twesi. Now Maslock use all embassies across the world to be a marketing tool to market our content.
Madam Mohammed said, "I'm a Kasaka." After FMA, someone Yamichi, Miracle Farms. Any DNA of Bupas. Said the penny for a can, said the Usu, Usumeniwa. In fact, about Kumasia, yet said Jania, any people. Let us know it be benefited by every to my ye. Look, a buy ya fight culture center. Let me start. Oh, yeah, we are 3 months. Because a happy, look, one. And no dear, you best say, moon trouble in rain. The insect animal. It's a wee mabia. There's a baby out of a biacasa. Who be one who must be a hanao. Meanwhile, for you, well, we and some pound so bad. We bomb ourselves. Master say, your budget to my more. I will call it the down with the wine and day. Say, Ura, you said the Gatana, what the year qua, yet 2 months about the true baby, a bear the guitar. Say, your budget, intimacy. So, which mean now a bra, Unsana, one is a call your wedding woman. To say you know Nigeria almost feel my will happen so far within the digital, you know, for YouTube, all the other Facebook, almost saying, and the idea of buying a show, a fighting man industry, so called just here, Netflix office war. Your Facebook office or your YouTube office or with not any other issue, we are not quiet man, not on my day. Say, I'm on your YouTube near you are hanging on, we are in from them. We not case a friend email, I don't mean, the problem what you call the York 7 call, be your own member. Almost from us in flow, big 5-year member. It must say Nigerian smell for what Tiama. Digital, that's what one for so much. Intimacy on way. Now, young YouTube for any other in Amra. That also be a great cassette. Internationally, Netflix, Nigeria for Netflix almost so we see. I give up with the PTA. It is a film festival. Every country be our film festival. The film festival, only producers neko, only artists neko. If you are we can ticket now, I buy an idea, to shell Samoa, or one of the marketers. Marketers make my link to Netflix with other year ago, and you know, never say, and also more mommy. I get back what SID in Yakakran say. We heard other countries who come to Paya. All the musicians neko, all the stars neko. But yeah, say, Abani ko baby musician come, certain stars be account because and when I would promote musicians, you know, for instance, if you are President Kobebi now we're to London, obey BB musicians refuse to Mumbi, at least near to you, some Nigerians say, your best say. You're too my home by because you're too way. And when you're Juma, one coast for it, my baby. any certificate yet what do you neighbor. It is a one to me am way na yet me am Petasua and not ya a baby a boy. That's say moon coming away. Nasamaya a bit me up one I'm a one. Omuni pie omo da street mu omo ye say na bet me akọ so wo hwe ene YouTube ya ba ya wotimi se obi afri street mu bi eye bi intimi kika no se de Nigerians no eye no besremo na moye na se mu kwan a bigidi ye se ye betimi asre na ye tuetumi sre a ena party ni ada yi na ese ye hwe se ye sini ba yi na kuma se na be di sini gina ho and I will come to study Kumutaya, yet the United Gabby, Abba Barrow. That's never day, no, yet to be a happy and few more, and ya, dear, a bit. Why? I never cook and I make a cut one say. Papa, you kind and Pacific tissue. So, Nigeria see a make a say, and not the other mouth, Payam way for a movie beyond television show. At least 2 years from 10 going in the mouth pine. Ghanaian films will come. I'm not a Juma for because television or compose with your content. Nasekopa say it's your crew. No, be a tree. Now the India social. Now I say, Momina, now what him say. I never quite Sini and say, Sini, Ankasano, an agenda. And you would need that agenda now, would they? Kumpa Gane, the way they were only banning no court, Omapia, no touch, and say, together, say, Yam Rabia, everything you pass, content no way at in a Ghanaians and yet my and yes, sir, your court say, your dressing say, your BBA say, now, the BBA say, your future way. Oh, it must say, why? Now it will no. Senior Juma Casano, I will hold the mob politicians, and I will hold the MP before the Germany. Senior Juma will hold my MPP. Muna Germany to say, Senior Juma, dear, I am Famamo. Dear, any idea be a person who say, Yama will be able to be a so free education now, purpose of ya. When the man ya bet me a Yamana to Ghana for 3. So America, a European you are better this one America for a Kuntokwa. And that's what we want to know. Who has seen one? The way I see America for Kumko. It is all fun to come back. Now, how for a cat of it. And you see, I don't want to prepare my mind. It's as a point I party no and as a party na yen mam abariba me person a free education a person ye you bet you are too go for them the be a person yen ma obia but yen sa yen free mo as a party and as a government and you see yen because of America only say hand no fa here the mom na change society it's your best say mumwaye na mumwaye jumaye put the money ye be ye e dia mama
yes a real definition of Penny Ofia legend for a reason. Put your hands together for them, man. Mr. Mo, I understand say media people be on TV more shows near the Mr. Mo, let's wrap it up for the Q&A for now. Now the very last and final one will be done for okay, Obabian Kasai, Tibuti, Unkwa, we are done because we are lagging behind time.
Thank you. Haja, you're looking elegant and exquisite. First of all, let me just applaud you on your apparel. And of course, Bana is a maker. So Haja Pacho, Amy said 7 years ago, you visited India to have an interaction with the Kumawood stars. That wasn't working. In fact, that was the assertion outside there. And a lot of people have been asking questions. I had 3 weeks ago, I had a show, and then people were asking that, what did you have from India to share with our creatives here, especially those in the movie industry? So that is one question that I would want to put across. And again, we have Apatakesi at Cultural Center. That one, before started it, before Omapeni before they started, and at 8 years it became NBC Betsazo. So Omen Fie, and at this time, 2016, by NPP Sabefa Kunyano. But Apatakesi has it's been serving a whole lot of purposes. In 2019, Honorable Katina Feku, by any creators in the Shire, Mekaise or Opoka or Parliament, if I say, or my renovating my home and by. So, due to that, he said, reshuffle be kind. So, till now, she also, Honorable Makuku, that I'm only a creative arts president. Or the Twabontin say, or Poshe upon your man, senior person, yes, and Posating one me a giant. This one day, I am categorically putting it before you. Say yes, sir, and you give me out Brazil Paso. Say, I can for food to me call and silver beds, watch and dine. Other cinemas, eco premium movie, a poor mocha, over 50-50. But here, yes, up echoes now, it's auditorium now, and Quebec boy, hammer, and 50-50 bianca, at least snap cinemas, and AMA, or more view or a bad government, which we know at home. But a back Kumasia, where which is the hub of creatives, and Yama for society, we get into it, that's very
Yeah, I wish this could
happen. Anna, comedians, no, unearthly. A growing industry like the comedy industry, individual of your best show work as a comedian, only support free baby, or bet you on one bottom sika. Why a standard show, 25th December, your show, I say, young Boka, not 80,000, acts as he can buy. Yeah, we are not GRA for a growing industry. Ababets now say, now Oma Taxi and said, yeah, a father of nations, a show, yeah. We are pleading with you, Samuba, Samotwaswa, which will happen, we pray it happens. Samotwaswa, moon 30 parameters, Emma Yang, I'm fighting for comedians. Yeah, show now. Taxes are, yeah, to your normal, so no. Have a way to waive some of it off. Now, your industry, numbers are the taxes, but who can pay it? But for now, yeah, bread. And no more money to 2 years, so many shows. We need comedian and why show or Ghana in Amfaso. So we beg you, look at that aspect as well.
Thank you. Stand up for a minute.
The private individuals, and that's what we don't do in Ghana here. They help a lot. Private individuals help the creative industry. So people, maybe a Jaguar Sama, on my list of man discussion producing movie. And now, even houses and cars, they dash into the celebrities. And the numbers are huge. 320 million people. It is a movie, quite 1 million share, they will cut it in. And the issue of data which was raised, I hope the last time we engaged Dr. in Accra, he said something about the private, he's going to have a conversation with the telecoms to see a way of meeting up why and now. Data not call for now a huge number of people can stream our movies. Because in Nigeria, data is very cheap. It's imagine YouTube needing alpha. They do a lot of productions with the issue of showing foreign soap opera, TV stations, no. But this is what they say. Almost your mere production, it costs them so much. So soap opera $100 per episode. No matter don't be what cheap, which is not acceptable. It's really wrong. It's a moving work, Kumasi, and it's the same thing we are going through in Accra. So with one voice, yes, but I'm also Kumasi was to say, and you can watch and I'm Santini. It is because you say, you can Kumasi and one you can Accra. So it's one voice. It's your own pie said, His Excellency Dr. Bawumia said the work cancer flat rates for all people, tax, whether we are there, everywhere now. Also, maybe we can about the GDP, how we contribute to the GDP. Now, when you show, they employ people, they employ actors, be it musicians, whoever is performing, they employ sound man, lights man, they employ people who sell food vendors and all those stuff. Needs now, the creative art does not only single on movies and musicians. It's a big industry, it's tourism. So at the end of the day, we contribute a lot. December in Ghana, Afrofusion, all those shows that they do in Accra and Kumasi, even this December, a All Black Party will reach condos. They normally do it every year. It brings a lot of people, it creates employment for people. So indirectly, even if you think maybe they didn't say the figure, we contribute a lot to the development and to the GDP. Sorry? Yeah, you said you couldn't explain the percentage, and I'm telling you, data statistics, and that's what I'm saying. It's, yeah, data-wise, it's a huge industry which creates room for employment. Yes. So at the end of the day, we are not left out. Whether you're a fashion designer, you're a seamstress, you're a props person, you're a set designer, it's all an ensemble. It's something that we all benefit. So let's push the agenda and pray come 7 December, victory will be ours. We said this before, but
before some lady, so now we must see your state house and yet Naka, your cock, the whole.
Thank you so much. With the one thing, okay. Yes, back okay. Your Excellency, just permission to also give a shout out to my Asaka boys.
Hey, sorry.
Please, I want you all to clap for them. And I'll tell you why. Something remarkable happened in this country a few weeks ago. Dr. Bawumia launched a streaming app for music and film. And it is because YP J Bad and other Asaka boys sat down, Jane said, shows are more your fans or more Omuntimi and call Apple and could stream your money. Ghana in your local content. And for between the mobile money, it's me access your money. And as someone more kind, Dr. Bawumia, Efana Supem, Emma, Sisi Ghana, Sisi Yangasa, you a local streaming site. It's moment, that's moment, because of the idea, our products, everything are reaching further. It's really thank you. I just wanted to give them that shout out. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll make sure, say, going forward, we'll give honor to those who deserve to be honored as a nation. We have to celebrate those who are doing good and those who are using their talent for the good of the nation. Thank you for that suggestion. Hub and incentives for imports of equipment. M said, within the broader conversation about tax incentives, I think it's important to say, the import of equipment, taxes there was with their trigger, so I'll make sure that is also considered. I'm not aware of the details in terms of whether equipment come on and come on. A baby sure say they are come on equipment also. I have not with me at movies no. It's true. I think for a lot of foreign guests never, they even come here with a lot of caution. As you know, Africa differently from the way Africa really is. In terms of the background, urban open term apple, and I said, more restricted the movement. But yes, yes, we have said yes. In our negotiations or our conversations with them, we open their eyes to the world beyond Accra to say maybe this is also a place to come, especially for investment. But it's a chicken and egg story. Maybe too is because the facilities are not here. But maybe too, if they come, the facilities will follow because the investors will see Kumasi or wherever else they go and invest. So it's also a good point that we can follow through on. Film Village Assembly Itiaka, so Yebedi so, and that's why this conversation is important. because yes, you know. But as you speak to more people, you get more ideas. We'll take a note of it. And of course, data on create. I understand your question. You're saying that we haven't quantified the data. It's not that you are disputing that it's, supports the economy. I know it is a given. Say creative arts contributes significantly to the economy, but we need to quantify the data. We need to segregate that data. Say, they can't sema, you bit me ultra proposal, crana, ubits media proposal, and when I started my introductory remarks, I say, America, TV from Anopa. Into American TV, morning shows, afternoon shows, evening shows, they are interviewing celebrities. And the celebrities are because they are doing movies, TV shows. So it's like a cycle. These people, it's like that same cycle that is feeding the economy. TV is benefiting from it. The movies are benefiting. So it's like there's no show that there's no celebrity. You're either watching them perform their show or watching them being interviewed about their show. So every show is about Hollywood and the film industry. So I get what you're saying, and it's important that we recognize that. And the Broadcasting Act, I think it's a very important point, which will add. Madam Lawyer, we'll put it together for you. I see what you mean about free zones. And as you said, we think about creative arts as informal sector of the economy, but it is time to make it a formal sector in our economy. And if you think about it in that context, say a formalizer, then you would know that it should benefit from programs like a free zones and I say a mass locker. And Dr. Bawumia also is going to set up an SME bank. So that SME bank can support the industry and should support the industry, God willing, say. And then I've also had conversations. You talked about how Maslow marketed creative arts. In fact, we've had conversations. These are informal conversations, but now that you mention it, I think it's something worth putting across about having desks in our foreign missions that promote culture. And other than, because we have the economic desk, but within the economic desk, those conversations ought to be had. So maybe these are things that we can bring into the training for our diplomats now or more out. So I thank you for that suggestion. And support for creatives in Kumasi. But I agree with you, say. We need to support the industry. This is the hub of creativity. So this is the hub of creativity. And the Nigerian dominance there, it is an issue, it's a real issue. You said there's a Netflix office there and all of that. The truth is, they have power because of their numbers. It makes economic sense for the foreigners to go to Nigeria. For instance, let me give you an example. This is not related to creative arts, but just so that we understand, PayPal, some of the payment platforms. So Dr. Bawumia has been pushing to get those payment platforms because it's part of expanding the economy. If you can order things directly, Obi Kotombe charging it 3 times MIN. That's part of it. Everybody wants to make supernormal profits in Ghana. Obi to idea $1, person $5. So we're looking at, or let me say, Dr. Bawumia was looking at how to get those payment platforms here so that you can buy directly. Not just say, Nyoma bo back off on, because when him said if I could base me at like by hundreds folds. But he was having a challenge because they are looking at the size of the economy. So and the size of the economy is just a factor of the numbers. Sometimes Nigeria is not necessarily a more attractive destination than Ghana. In fact, Nigerians, Ghana is arbitrary. But for some of these things, it is because they have the numbers. So it makes economic sense to set up there first. But we will get there. We'll keep pushing and make sure, say, eventually they will get to year level. Of course, participation in film festivals, that should be a priority for our next Minister for Tourism and Creative Arts. We should have a vehicle where our people participate. Traveling with artists, no. What is it, Mrs. Bawumia, as I come for year to choir? Money, my temp, the avenue, Mubeko. Ghana for an eventual Miadapa. Into the Samoja to say, in ya to Panas Bacona, Monsieur Fine Girl, Betty Mechimeanco. So, money, my temp, dear, and ya own Beko, and anyone. But I think it's a good idea. It would be nice for certain fora to go with artists. It's part of selling the country and promoting the culture through content. And using film as a means for communication. I mean, film is powerful. I think we are underestimating the power of film. And when we say film, we mean film television. The power of what you see, what you hear. And that's the example I gave you of America. America, is because of what the story they have sold to us. Inti, Ufil said, Oko America, Oko New York, in Grand and Nampo. But you still in your mind, because you've seen New York as that shiny thing, you want to believe that is what it is. We should really look at, if we're developing this country, how we're developing, apart from the formal processes, how do we use this industry to boost our country? Because it's sort of a revolving door. It's a cover, this one impacts the other. So I'm with you on that so far. So, and then about the India visits. I didn't go to India to go and see what they were doing. No, that's not why. I went to India on a conference. I went to a conference for the UN. So I was there at the UN, and then the mission. So we have a consul general there in Mumbai. So he said this. I hadn't even seen it at the time. I'll tell you for free, not meaning what it was. But so my staff said that, they almost show Ghana, and they wanted me to see how the production was done. And it was very close to the hotel where we were staying. And that's how I ended up there. So I didn't go to India to go and look at how they were. But having said that, when I met with them, we discussed their production and how, what they had in mind for Ghana, because Ghanaians were watching it, because I'd been briefed that it was very popular at the time and Ghanaians were watching, and they were happy at the time to even come and set up studios in Ghana so that they would rewrite their stories and morph it into the Ghanaian culture. But I think also the uproar that happened post that gave them some cold feet. But I wasn't there to even have that conversation, so I honestly didn't even follow up on it, because after that there was really no need to be seen to be championing that matter. But it was just something that happened as a consequence of my being there. And of course, as we discussed, if we have this Broadcasting Act, then there will be proper regulation in terms of content. Now, you're making sure, say, yes, so your content, if we are forced to consume, we'll begin to appreciate it. Because if you don't have the opportunity to consume, and the proper now we say, what this Broadcasting Act can do is to force us to consume the content, and by so doing, we'll also begin to appreciate what it is, and then also invest in it. And then the pension scheme for the creators, that's an interesting idea, because we also have to look at the employers. Are they paying your SNIT for you? So if we have to legislate that, if we have to make sure that every job that is within the creative space has to have a pension payment as part of it. But then of course that would increase cost of production, but we should be ready for that, and so government's role can be in enforcing, say, employer BI into your pension, and if there is another program that we can all, say this is how we can also devise a new pension strategy, so now, and also maybe on your own volition, so That's something we can look at. We talked about the streaming app. Ghana has a streaming app now, and we have it work. Now the tool has been provided. It is how we utilize this. And stand-up comedians, we thank you for all the laughter that you give us. And of course, you also need incentives. So these tax incentives is something we're really going to push to make sure that shows are supported. I think we supported our boys with the venue for their concert. And I remember when I had a meeting with them at the time, they were telling me how much it costs to rent the stadium, you know, for their December show. And so we spoke to the authorities and we got them the venue. So those are things that we can directly do.
Well, a round of applause for that, please.
Those are things that we can directly do. But let me just wrap up by reiterating again, sir. I'm truly passionate about your industry, and I appreciate what it takes to make something out of nothing. Because that's really what you do. You make things out of nothing, and it's also a big contributor to our nation's development in diverse ways. So we are committed to supporting you, and I am personally committed to supporting you. I want to have an open door policy with you, and I want you, after this conversation, look at the proposals we are putting forth, look at the gaps in it, and furnish us with those gaps, and we'll make sure we see it through. So thank you so much for your time. God bless you.